A very good morning to all of you. So in last class we discussed about the SIDs. What is the classification? This is the classification, traditional classification of NSAIDs, very important. We discussed about the mechanism of action of NSAIDs, all types of NSAIDs, that is cyclooxygenase enzyme inhibition, COX1, COX inhibition. Okay, this selective inhibition of COX2. This is the mechanism. What is the silent features of non-selective and selective COX2 inhibitors? So this is how the mechanism as analgesic, antipyretic, inflammatory, and what are the therapeutic uses where we can use, and as a fetal circulatory system, cardioprotective. So what are the other uses of NSAIDs? What are the indications in the mild and moderate pain in rheumatoid arthritis and osteoarthritis? Inflammatory arthropathies, acute gout, dysmenorrhea. So these are the indications or uses, therapeutic uses of your NSAIDs. So other clinical features we discussed in the last class. So today and also we discussed the adverse effects of NSAIDs according to systemic wise. Now today we are going to discuss about the aspirin and other important NSAIDs. So what are the importance of aspirin and other important drugs in this group? Okay, coming to aspirin. Aspirin, what is the main mechanism? What is uses? The use or mechanism of action we will see. The action is to reduce the inflammation. So that is anti-inflammatory action extends from 3 to 6 milligram day or 100 milligram per day. Now, as analgesic, 0.3 to 1.5 grams per day for inflammatory pain. Antipyretic, that is reduces the rise in temperature. So, the same dose for analgesic can be used as an antipyretic. But which is more used drug, or what is the main use of for antipyretic use is your paracetamol, which is very used as a for antipyretic. Coming to the mechanism of action of your aspirin. So what is the main mechanism of action aspirin? We already discussed in the first or second slide of this class, of this PPT. What is that? It irreversibly inactivates both cyclic COX1 and COX2. Okay, the main mechanism of action of aspirin is it irreversibly inactivates both COX1 and COX2. Next, coming to the absorption, distribution and elimination, given orally, half-life is 30 minutes, rapid hydrolysis to salicylates, but effects lasts longer because of COX has been inactivated and new enzyme must be produced. So this is the mechanism and distribution, metabolism and excretion. So as uses, coming to the analgesic, doses lowered from 0.3 to 6 grams, 6 to 8 hourly. For analgesic, what is the maximum dose can be given? 1000 milligram as a single dose. Very important for you people. Coming to the aspirin, as dose is very important to you people. Make a note of this. And as antipyretic, the dose is same as analgesic. However, paracetamol is being safer in, it is generally preferred. Paracetamol is the given for an antipyretic. As rheumatoid fever, in rheumatic fever, so rheumatic fever is a rheumatic causes inflammation, especially of the heart, blood vessels and joints. So how it is caused? What is the rheumatic fever can cause after the throat infection from the bacteria of Streptococcus bacteria. Make a note. I already told this in the previous classes. Make a note for bacterial infection. So there is a inflammation of joints and blood vessels. So what is the dose? Dose is 4 to 5 grams per day or 75 to 100 milligrams mg per kg body weight. So rheumatoid arthritis. The rheumatoid arthritis is a chronic inflammatory disorder that can affect your joints. So what is the dose? What way we can use as arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis? What is the drug aspirin dose? It is 3 to 5 grams per day. In most effective cases, it is the most cases the rheumatoid arthritis, the aspirin is the given, or we can go with the indomethacin in some cases. So in osteoarthritis, it is used as and when required basis. Okay. So coming to the aspirin, the doses are very important. Make a note, very important. Coming to the doses for aspirin. Coming to the uses, continuous uses. By inhibiting the platelet aggregation, aspirin lowers the incidence of reinfarction in myocardial infarction and post-stroke patients. So, aspirin 6 to 1000 milligram day reduces the incidence of MI, myocardial infarction. On new onset or sudden worsening angina is associated with high infarction rate and can reduce the half of by 100 to 150 aspirin per day for 12 weeks. So giving prophylactically, I told in the previous class also, by giving prophylactic treatment in high risk patients, we can just decrease the cardiovascular diseases to decrease, and for as anti-inflammatory we can use this aspirin. Aspirin reduces the transient ischemic attacks and lowers the incidence of stroke in such patients. Okay, next. Coming to the adverse effects. What are the main adverse effects of aspirin is I already discussed in last class. That is your gastric intestinal disturbances, especially the peptic ulcer and also gastric bleeding. Already if we are having any bleeding conditions or any inflammatory into the intestines or in the stomach, we should not give the aspirin. So in high dose can cause salicism. That is, what is the salicism we will discuss. Tetanus, vertigo, reduced hearing, and allergic reaction occasionally, and renal toxic rarely. Can cause the potentially fetal Reye syndrome. Reye syndrome can be seen especially in the children when we having a vital infections like chicken pox, like that. If we are having that infections, if you give this aspirin, this can turn into Reye syndrome in especially in the children which are affected with the viral infections like chicken pox, any fever like that, any viral infections. So we should contraindicated in children also. At therapeutic dose, it can see the hyperurinemia and prolongs bleeding time. It also prolongs the bleeding time. These are the adverse effects of your aspirin. Next, coming to the precautions and contraindications, where we should not give this aspirin. Very important, Amma. Aspirin is contraindicated in patients who are sensitive to it and in peptic ulcer, bleeding tendency in children suffering from chickenpox or influenza, which can cause the Reye syndrome. Okay, we should not give to this patients. We should not give to this children. In liver disease also we should not give the aspirin, which can cause hepatic neurosis. It should be avoided in diabetes, in those with low cardiac reserve and frank CHF, in juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, that is in which can seen in the juvenile means in the children, rheumatoid arthritis, that is the inflammation of the joints. Okay, we should not give in that patients, and aspirin should be stopped 1 week before elective surgery. Before surgery we should stop this aspirin. And in pregnancy and lactation we should not give, and in G6PD deficiency also we should contraindicate the we should not give the aspirin. Coming to the toxic or salicism, we can also call salicism. So what we should go with the treatment? Decrease absorption activated charcoal and emetics and gastric lavage can be given to enhance. So to enhance the secretions, alkaline urine, forced diuresis and hemolysis. What are the other suppository measures? To give the fluids, decrease the temperature, and bicarbonate and electrolytes and glucose can be given as suppository measures. So aspirin toxicity also called as salicism. Okay. Next, coming to the paracetamol. Very important drug. Paracetamol has potent analgesic antipyretic action, but rather weak as anti-inflammatory effects than other NSAID. This is the very safest drug in any type of children, any type of patients, in children, in infants, in elder age. So this is a very easy drug to take. Paracetamol is also a over the counter OTC drug. We also call as OTC, over the counter, means without prescription also we can take only aspirin, sorry, only paracetamol. So what is the mechanism of action of paracetamol? Inhibits COX-1 and COX-2 and also recently identified COX-3, which occur predominantly in the CNS. So it also inhibits COX-1 and COX-2. Okay, next coming to the absorption and metabolism. It is given orally and metabolized in liver. Half of is 2 to 4 hours. Metabolized to, how it is converted to N-acyl para-aminoquinine by microchromosome enzyme. It is metabolized to N-acyl para-aminobenzoic acid, also called N-acyl para-aminobenzoic quinomine. Okay. Next coming to the adverse effects. This hepatotoxicity due to, there is a hepatotoxicity due to N-acyl para-aminoquinine and glutathione produced by liver detoxifies this NPAQ, that is N-acyl para-aminoquinine, and chronic alcoholics are predisposed to toxic due to reduced glutathione and alcohol-induced production of NPAQ from acetaminophen. So antidote for this, very important term, antidote. Paracetamol is having an antidote that is your N-acetylcysteine. So where we can see what is, why it is necessary of antidote. It is very common, this toxicity of paracetamol or taking paracetamol can be seen especially in the children. Unfortunately they can take. So what is the antidote? See, antidotes for every drug, very important amma. If you are having any antidote, make a note. N-acetylcysteine is the antidote for your paracetamol. Make a note, very important. Next coming to the diclofenac. Diclofenac reduces the inflammation, acts as analgesic, reducing pain in conditions such as arthritis or acute injury. So a action of a single dose is much longer, that is 6 to 8 hours, than very short half-life during the drug indication. This should be partially because it persists over all 11 hours in synovial fluids. Okay, this is the diclofenac, very important. Next coming to the use, where we can use in musculoskeletal complaints like arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, polymyositis, osteoarthritis, dental pain, spondylitis, and acute gout. This diclofenac can be used. Pain management in kidney stones and gallstones can also given for this diclofenac, and in additional indication it is also used in acute migraine. Used commonly to treat mild to moderate post-operative and post-traumatic pain, particularly when inflammation is also present. So this is about the diclofenac, and it is also effective in menstrual pain and endometritis. Next coming to the propionic acid derivatives, that is naproxen, phenoproxen, ketoprofen, fluoroprofen, and oxyprofosine. What is the mechanism of these propionic acid derivatives? That is, these drugs are reversible inhibitors of COX enzymes and thus inhibit the synthesis of prostaglandins. So where this naproxen or etc. are used, all these drugs are possess anti-inflammatory, anti-analgesic and antipyretic activity, used in chronic treatment of rheumatoid arthritis and osteoarthritis because their gastrointestinal effects are generally less intention than the aspirin. Okay, so this can be used for long-term treatments. So osteoarthritis or rheumatoid arthritis, where there is a long-term treatment is necessary. So this is the, when compared with the aspirin, it is having a less gastrointestinal effects. So this is the more prone drugs can be used for the chronic uses. Next, ibuprofen is NSAID, originally marketed as Brufen. You people may know about this Brufen. Used for relief of symptoms of arthritis, primary dysmenorrhea, and fever. Primary dysmenorrhea and secondary dysmenorrhea. Primary dysmenorrhea we can be seen in chronic in primary before 2 to 3 days of your menstrual cycle, and secondary it is a long term treatment. Long term we can see, it can see for 1 week treatment is necessary. So coming to the, it is also used as an analgesic, especially where there is an inflammation component. So this is about the ibuprofen. We will see ibuprofen is also used as an anti-platelet effect, though it is relatively mild and short-lived when compared with aspirin or other better known antiplatelet drugs. So ibuprofen is a core medicine in World Health Organization's essential drug list, which is a list of minimum medical needs for a basic healthcare system. Okay, this is about the ibuprofen. Now coming to the mefenamic acid, very important about mefenamic acid. This is a drug of choice for your dysmenorrhea. So use it to the treatment including menstrual pain. It is typically prescribed for a oral absorption. Decreases inflammation and uterine contractions by inhibiting prostaglandin synthesis. Used for a premenstrual migraine headache prophylactically. The treatment starts with 2 days prior to the onset or flow, or 1 day prior to the expected onset of headache, and continues for the duration of menstruation. So this is a drug of choice for your dysmenorrhea and headache with migraine headache with menstruation. Next, since hepatic metabolism plays a significant role in mefenamic acid elimination, patients known to liver deficiency may be prescribed low doses. So we should not give with any liver diseases. Kidney deficiency may also occur, accumulation of the drug and its metabolites in the excretory system. Therefore, patients suffering from renal condition should not prescribe the mefenamic acid. Okay, should not be given in a liver or kidney diseases if you are having any liver or kidney diseases. Next, coming to the indomethacin. Indomethacin is a potent non-selective COX-2 inhibitor and may be also inhibit the phospholipase A and C, reduces the neutrophil migration and decreases the T cells and beta B cells populations. So probenecid prolongs the indomethacin half-life by inhibiting both renal and biliary clearance. So what are the uses of this indomethacin? Used in the gout and ankling and spondylitis. In addition, it is also used in the treatment of patent ductus arteriosus. So already discussed about the ductus arteriosus, patent or closure of ductus arteriosus in last class only. So just listen if you are having any doubt. Okay, next. What are the uses of this indomethacin? As ophthalmic preparations for conjunctival inflammation to reduce pain after traumatic corneal abscession, and it is also used in gingival inflammation to reduce after administration of indomethacin oral trace, and epidural injection produce a degree of pain relief similar to that of achieving with the methylprednisolone in post laminectomy syndrome. It is also used in an epidural injection. Ketorolac is a NSAID promoted for systemic use mainly as an analgesic but not as an anti-inflammatory. Rapidly absorbs after oral and IM administration. It is most often given intramuscularly or intravenously, but an oral absorption, oral dose formation is available. Highly plasma bound and 60% excreted unchanged in urine. T half of is 5 to 7 hours. So the drug is also used successfully to replace the morphine in some situations involving mild to moderate post-surgical pain. Okay. When used with an OPR, it decreases the OPR requirement by 25 to 50%. The ophthalmic preparation is available for anti-inflammatory applications. Toxicity are similar to that of other NSAIDs, although renal toxicity may be most common with this disease with chronic use. Next, other drug is pyroxine. Pyroxine or oxime is a non-selective COX-2 inhibitor, but at high concentrations also inhibit polymorphonuclear leukocyte migration, decreases the IgM rheumatoid factor and inhibits the lymphocyte function. Suitable for long-term anti-inflammatory drugs in both rheumatoid, osteoarthritis and spondylitis. So toxicity includes gastric intestinal symptoms, dizziness, tetanus, headache and rash. When pyroxine is used in doses higher than 20 mg per day, an increased incidence of peptic ulcer and bleeding is encountered. So we should not use more than 20 mg per day. So indomethacin inhibits the PLAA, possess immunosuppressive property indicated in Batter syndrome. We discussed in the last class what is this Batter syndrome. That is regarding the renal failure. And mefenamic acid possesses PG receptor antagonist and PLPA A2 inhibitor activity. Useful, very important drug of choice in dysmenorrhea. Pyroxime and teloxime is a long-acting NSAIDs due to enterohepatic circulation. Nefopam does not exhibit PG synthesis but relieves tremors, traumatic post-operative and muscle post-operative and musculoskeletal pain. So coming to the COX-2 selective, these celecoxib, robicoxib, valdecoxib inhibitors. These drugs have advantages over very little GIT toxicity. So what is the advantages? We already discussed the difference between COX non-selective and selective COX. So what is the advantage is GI toxicity. The renal toxicity is similar to traditional NSAIDs and a chance of thrombosis that is can occur, acute MI or stroke has increased or prolonged use. Celecoxib, robicoxib, valdecoxib or sulfonamide derivative can cause hypersensitivity reactions. So Terindocoxib in longest acting and requires hepatic functions monitoring during its use. Lobelocoxib is a newer COX-2 inhibitor that has more activity in acidic milieu. Okay. Classify NSAIDs, right mechanism of action, adverse drug reactions and therapeutic use of aspirin. Okay, or it may be a paracetamol, or individually paracetamol may be a 4-mark question, or aspirin may be a 4-mark question. It may be a indomethacin for 2 marks. So totally NSAIDs are very important to you people. So just keep these 2 classes continuously, listen, okay, and just understand it and keep your Tripathi book, okay, and learn properly. Okay, thank you.